Everyone, it's Emily Fox. Today's video is going to be my last book haul of the year. I'm very excited because the majority of these are your recommendations. I was asking in my recent videos for the best books you've read in 2023. That way I could get my hands on them and hopefully read most of them in 2024. I'm planning on doing at least one or two vlogs where I will be reading them and trying to see if your taste is similar to mine. If you have great recommendations, no hard feelings though if I don't enjoy them, because a few of them are like right up my alley and a few of them are a little bit out of my comfort zone. I thought it would be fun to mix it up. Also, a lot of these I bought new, which I buy most of my books used, either library sales or used bookstores. So this was a whole new experience for me. I feel like once in a while it's a really good idea to try to do that. So not to buy new, but I mean buying your recommendations. With that said, I have been able to find a couple at a used bookstore, and I've bought a couple that were also for me. I was going to keep them for like next year, but why would I do that? So let me just talk about all of the books that I've purchased. I do want to say it was a little bit painful, I'm not gonna lie. I'm really curious to hear how expensive books are where you live, because in Canada they're ridiculously expensive, and like obviously I want to support authors, that's why I use my library a lot. But I have bought the most expensive book I've bought this whole year in this video, and I found it so painful. I feel like a paperback in my head, because I prefer paperbacks, should be like $10–15, but in Canada it's double that. It's a lot. We're going to come back to that when I get to that book. I'm going to tell you which one in a second, but first I wanted to talk about a book that is self-published. I bought the ebook, and it is Blood Over Bright Haven, and I read it as an ebook. I didn't know that the author also self-published physical copies, so I ordered it as soon as I finished it because I've been mentioning it's basically the best book I've read this year. So if you're looking for a standalone adult fantasy, I've raved about it in my November wrap-up if you want to hear more about it. But essentially, this is amazing. This is all you need to know. You're going to see it my best of the year also, but I feel like this was similar a little bit to Babel, but so much better. I feel like I don't like comparing books, but I keep doing it because they have similar themes. But I was so emotionally invested in this book. The author also wrote The Sword of Kaijin, by the way, and also self-published. I don't know if the author just doesn't want to be picked up by a publisher, but I wish she would, because she deserves so much more hype and absolutely fantastic. So of course, as soon as I finished the ebook, I ordered a physical copy, and I want to like shove that book in everyone's face as much as possible because I'm making it my mission to make everyone read it. So yeah, I bought it. I was very happy. I used to put my books in the background, and I feel like this setup is not as good for it, but works, close enough. Okay, so the most expensive book that I bought this year, straight up. Also, I'm not going to put it on the screen every time because future me when I edit will hate me, but I'm going to put on the screen how many times this book was recommended. It was non-stop, which, you know, I'm all for it. I will listen, and a few of you also mentioned that it was similar to the book I've been raving about, so I bought it. This is The Will of Many. No, oh, The Will of the Many. And this is a giant brick. I believe this is going to be a duology, and book 2 is coming out in 2024, so we won't have to wait too long. Good thing, because I think some of you mentioned that there's somewhat of a cliffhanger towards the end, so I don't like those, but if I don't have to wait, that's fine. This is the most expensive book I have bought this year. I believe full price. I had 10% off, but like, it's $39.99 in Canada. I'm sorry, this is so expensive. At that price, it better be good. But seriously, again, I'm all for supporting authors, but like $40 for one book. This is why I wouldn't be able to do like monthly-ish book hauls if it weren't for used bookstores, because that's insane. Either way, I'm excited because a few of you mentioned that, once again, it has similar themes to the other book I've mentioned. I believe there's also a magical school, which, listen, I'm sold right there. And I believe the main character is going there to get access to magic, but also try and solve a murder and get revenge. So listen, absolutely right up my alley. Very excited for it. I love you mentioned that this is going to be your best book of 2023. So like, of course I'm curious. I do have another book by the author on my shelf. I know the cover is white with like a yellow sun on it. I've been telling myself that I wouldn't buy more books from authors I haven't tried yet, because I've been bit in the butt a couple times, to be honest. And I said I wasn't going to, but I did it. I trust you. I think I'm going to read this one. I think I should be doing the vlog, like the first vlog in January, and I feel like this should be one of them, even though I'm a little intimidated, but maybe this could also be a pick for the Patreon book club. I try not to include too many like brand new books because they're harder to find or more expensive, but since everyone raves about it. So yeah, duology, thick book, fantasy, magical school, revenge story, murder mystery. Yeah, I want to read that. So The Will of the Many. I'm really excited. I have a good feeling about this one. Next. Ooh, this one was recommended a ton too. I haven't been very lucky with murder mystery thrillers, okay? I've tried so many of the popular ones and I hate 90% of them, like 95 actually, which sounds really bad. But I think a lot of the popular ones tend to be like domestic thrillers, which like I don't care about like cheating husband, and I just don't. And I don't know where to find recommendations anymore. I just been really struggling. I know like the ones with like a little bit of sci-fi elements work for me too. I'm talking about it because I'm hoping you can give me more recommendation. But this one was recommended so many times, and it is Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone. Okay, I like the title. I'm already sold right there. And a lot of you told me that this is like a humorous tone for the book, which can be hit and miss, humor in general, but it sounded really appealing. It's like a remote location. I think it's a ski resort where the whole family has, a family reunion, and everyone in the family has murdered someone, has killed someone. And I think throughout the book, some people will be also, so the main character is like narrating what's going on in a humorous tone. And okay. A few of you also mentioned that this is your favorite book of 2023. And I believe the author mentions that like, or narrator is mentioning that he will be following like the 10 rules of like murder mysteries throughout the book. So it's very like cliche, but in a good way. So, okay, very excited about this one. There's a couple in here that I have a really good feeling that I'm gonna love, and this is definitely one of them. Which, by the way, you should definitely let me know in the comment section which ones I should be prioritizing, because obviously I want to read all of them, but I will do like, I don't know, like 2 vlogs or something trying to specifically read your favorite ones. So I would love to know which ones I should try to include in that video. So the next one, might as well continue with the ones that I have a feeling I'm going to love the most. This one, I wasn't sure how to feel about it until I looked into it, because I try not to learn too much about them because I want to go into it just knowing it's a favorite and like experiencing it with no expectations, because expectations can sometimes ruin the whole thing. But I've been mentioning how much I enjoy cozy lately. Cozy fantasy, magical, kind of witchy vibes. And this one, when I looked into it, I was like, oh, okay, I am sold. This is the book. I got this cover. There's this cover, which, fine. But when I saw there was this option, I was like, you know what? I don't buy brand new books very often, but I might as well get the pretty edition. Is it the UK edition? I feel like 90% of the time when there's a cover that looks better, it's the UK. This is Emily Wilde's oh my gosh, I hate English. Encyclopédie of Fairies. And you're following this woman who has been studying fairies, and she goes to this small remote village, which loves small towns, and she's studying fairies. So I'm really thinking, okay, vibes of cozy small town. That's just, in theory, sounds right up my alley. So I also have a really good feeling. But let's be real. Look at that cover. This is like cottagecore, cozy witchy vibes. I don't know if she's a witch, but I mean, the fairies is the witchy part in my head. It works in my head. So yes, very much intrigued. Befriending, the gruff townsfolks. Is there a romance? It's making it sound like there is a like hate to love romance in the back and like a mystery, which like, please stop putting everything I want in a book. That's too much. So I have a good feeling. I'm really hoping I'm going to love all of these books because you guys were really selling them to me. The next one, the title right away sold me, but I believe these 2 books, I didn't realize they were from the same author at first, but these 2 books sound like they're going to be a little bit outside of my comfort zone, but since they're so popular, I need to know. The first one is 10 minutes, 30 seconds in this strange world. I believe the main character dies in the beginning, which I feel like more books need to have that, because yes, I've only read one that I can think of, and I can't remember the title of this one. It's a YA one, but the character, like the story starts with the character dying, which like, yes, please. If you have any other recommendations, let me know. But I believe this one may be a bit more like magical realism than what I'm used to. But the story starts with the moments where the character has been murdered and her brain is still active for 10 minutes and 38 seconds. So you kind of go back and see her life events that marked her childhood. And although it's dark and a violent world, there's also a lot of light and love. So, okay. Okay, Sin, I trusted you, okay? I didn't want to know too much, I mentioned that, but chosen family vibes, yes. Yes, okay, yes. But yes, a few of you mentioned that one, so I was curious because of the title and the fact that the character starts by dying. And then when I went used book shopping, I found this one, and I didn't realize it was the same author. I don't know why my used bookstore sometimes gets books with like the Target sell stickers, which like we don't even have Target in Canada, but they make it up here and I'm all for it. So this is The Island of Missing Trees, which this one sounds like it's going to be even more outside my comfort zone, but I've heard that the writing style in this one and this one is really, really beautiful, and that's fine with me. In this one, you're following two teenagers, and I think it's like a romance over like years. Maybe this is the one that was more historical fiction. So the war breaks out, they escape, and years later these two teenagers come back as adults and essentially finding their long lost love. So I don't read a ton of romance, but I feel like whenever there's more of a context behind it, they tend to work more for me. So I'm curious, definitely been trying to find more modern contemporaries to read. I feel like I don't read a ton of contemporaries, but when I do, I feel like the writing style for me is really important. So hopefully that one works for me. But I think it's really funny that I hadn't noticed these two were from the same author, but I mean, if so many of you mentioned both, that must be a good sign. Next, I got a recommendation that I should continue this series, and I've been like neglecting it because it's a trilogy technically. They're more like companion-ish novels, but I was really scared that the rest of the series were going to ruin the first book for me. The first book being the book of the Unnamed Midwife. It made it, was it last year? My best book of last year. Loved it. It's like a post-apocalyptic book. The first book is almost apocalyptic. It's happening. There's a plague that kills the majority of people, and it's a lot, but in a good way. Definitely one of the best ones that I have read. And book 2 that I picked up, this is the book of Etta. This one continues to follow like after the events of the first book, so the plague is still doing its thing, and it's in a world that it even like 98% whatever of men are died. Oh my, I feel like I've been struggling with my English lately. I've been speaking French too much. 98% of men have died, and it has affected women and children even more, especially pregnant women. So you're following the remnant of humanity in that small village. And I think there's a bit of a revenge story because slavers are seizing the people she loves, so she goes and gets her revenge and get them back. So yes, absolutely. I feel like I need to wait until I'm emotionally prepared because a few of these sound like they're gonna be hard-hitting. The next one is an author I have never read anything from, but I've mentioned how much I want to read more translated work. And you guys just mentioned the author in general, like there was a whole thread of people recommending her books, and I wasn't sure which one to start with, but this one was the easiest one for me to get my hands on, so I picked this one. This is a short story collection called Things We Lost in the Fire by Mariana Enriquez. This is translated from Spanish, which I feel like I have barely read any translation in Spanish. I feel like I've read too many that were like Japanese translation. I don't know why they're so popular. I keep seeing them, my library keeps picking them up, so I keep trying them, and they don't work for me. The writing is so dry in English. So I picked this one up. This one I believe is more like horror, which again, I don't read a ton of, but it was saying how it's inspired by life and death in contemporary Argentina, and that each of the stories are about the nation's troubled history, but among the abandoned house, black magic, superstition, lost love, and regret, there's also friendship, compassion, and humor. So, okay, I'm gonna try it. I don't read a ton of short stories because in general, I feel like shorter books can be, like novellas and short stories, they tend to be more hit and miss for me in general, especially when it's like a group of them like this. But I'm really curious what the hype is about, so I will be trying this one. This is the last one that was a suggestions that I bought a physical copy of. And you guys keep doing this thing to me where I buy the book that you guys recommend, and then this is when everyone comes out and tells me, oh no, it's not good. You guys have to stop doing this to me. It's so cruel. I know you're not doing it on purpose. Nobody knew I picked it up, but it's too late. I picked it up. This is it. This is the book. This is Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers. Okay. I have been mentioning how much I really like the idea of an older female character in general. I've been reading more books with those and I really enjoy it. But I specifically like the idea of them like either murdering people or like solving murder mysteries. I've read a couple books with that team and unfortunately I haven't found one that I really liked, and I'm hoping that this one is going to work, even though a few of you told me that maybe I wouldn't like it. But I believe she also runs is it a tea shop? Yeah. And I think it said also that she's like a little bit of a matchmaker and that again, she will be solving murder mysteries. So yeah. In theory, that sounds really good to me. So hoping for the best, even though some of you told me it might not be the best. And then the next two are just random books that I found at the same time because I wasn't going to not pick them up, and why wait when I can just share them with you right now. Okay, the first one is a book by an author that I've enjoyed work from before. I've been really trying to explore more books from authors I've enjoyed because even though it can be really hit and miss and kind of ruin the whole thing for me, at the same time sometimes you realize, oh, I actually like everything they've published. So that cover is really ugly though. The Hunting of Maddie CLA by Simone St. James. So I read a couple of her books and I really enjoyed the Sundown Motel, and I wanted to try some of her older work. So I picked that one up because it was $1, might as well. And this one is set in the 1920s England. It's like the ghost of a mystery serving maid. I don't know if she's going to do what she has done, but the three of the books that I read by her tend to follow like different timelines, and I find it really interesting, and we're hoping. I feel like these kind of murder mysteries tend to be somewhat cozy to me. No judging, but hopefully that does it. And then the next one, I got so excited because I bought the Pride and Prejudice version of it. I'm gonna find it and put it on the screen because I thought that was so cool. Let me grab it. I found it. So I bought this, freaking out because first off, the cover, gorgeous. And this is Pride and Premeditation. So it's a murder mystery based on Pride and Prejudice. Listen, I'm all for it, but I didn't realize this was a collection. And this is Sense and Second Degree Murder. Listen, at this point, I don't even care if these are awful, okay? Hopefully they're not, but I don't even care. I just needed to own these, and like these covers, they're so pretty. So yes, it's another murder mystery that I'm assuming is based on Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen, and you're following the sisters Eleanor and Marianne Dashwood, and they investigate the suspicious death of their father. So I don't know how close they are to the actual book, but just these covers and then just the idea of that is just too appealing. So yeah, I may have squealed a little bit in the store, so I might need to just hoard all of them. My other favorite from Jane Austen would be Emma, so I need to look up if there is a version for Emma. Maybe I should wait until I try them to see if I actually enjoy them, but who cares? They're pretty. So I don't do that super often, so so these were the main ones that you guys recommended that I was able to get my hands on. Like I said, there's the one with Remarkable Something Creatures that was really popular that I do want to read. And when I mentioned that I was interested in getting The Other Bennet Sister, I have it on my library waiting list for the audiobook. A few of you told me that you actually really like that one, so I'm putting it high on my TBR. So these are the main ones that are currently on my TBR for next year for that special little reading challenge. I would love to hear your thoughts on the books that I've mentioned, which ones you think I should pick up. Right now, my top 3 would be the first 3 that I mentioned. So The Will of the Many, I'm just terrified of that thing. I could kill someone with it. I haven't been reading that many huge books this year, but that one, that everyone in my family has killed someone, that sounds cool, and the Anley Wilds. Fuck my life. I can say it in my head. I think the worst part about speaking your second language is that you can say it in your head, but I can't make that sound. Encyclopedia of Fairies. So that's my top 3, I think. So which ones should I pick up? I feel like if I read this in a vlog, though, it's gonna be the only one. Either way, I feel like this one should be a fairly quick read. So yes, these are the 3 that I'm personally the most excited to read, but I would love to hear any other recommendations, your best books of 2023. That way I can keep an eye out whenever I do like a second one. Maybe I'll just call them favorites in general. Like if you have an all-time favorite book that you would like me to read, maybe I could do that for the second vlog, and I'll let you know in future book hauls when I do pick them up. But yeah, I'm really excited about little book haul, but also that little challenge. I feel like that's going to be fun. I want to do that multiple times if I enjoy them. If I don't trust your taste, then that's it. I hope you enjoyed this little book haul. This was the last one for the year. It's definitely weird. In my head, it's still March. I cannot be the only one. I feel like we're still in the beginning of the year. This year has been all over the place. So that's it. I hope you're ready for all the end of the year videos coming up. All my best, worst, most surprising, most disappointing books. It's coming up very soon. Thumbs up, subscribe, and I will put more videos on the screen that I recommend you check out. And I will see you for those very soon. Bye.